We'll find out. No idea. So anyway, if it was not live on YouTube already, hello folks, this is not the stream. I am bug fixing. If you're here watching and you know anything about CK3, this is me just gonna ask you guys if you're watching, like if you have any ideas. Is the stream on YouTube busted? It might be. Try it now. It should be working now on YouTube. What's up, folks? I'm bug fixing at the moment. And I'm going to see if any of y'all have ideas, because I ran out of ideas. And if you don't, I'm going to have to sit down this week and spend a lot of time on this, which is the Grand Campaign. But, all right, so to go back to the problem, which I was describing, the game launches, the game is totally fine. There's been an update for, I think, the game rule mod, and then the foundational framework mods had updates. I have backed up mods. This is not the actual stream. I need to change the stream title. Shit. Hold on. I'm giving bad expectations. I need to not do that. Bug fixing GC. There we go. Yeah, let me change that very quickly. There we go. I don't want to set false expectations for folks here. Yeah, so we are bug fixing right now, because I've been bug fixing for, I think, around 4 hours now. And stream was supposed to start 2 hours ago, and I want to see if you guys have ideas. I want to let you know, too, what's going on, because I know some people are waiting. I've not just been doing nothing. I've been sitting here losing my fucking mind trying to figure out what is wrong here. So I can launch the game. The game is fine. There was an update for the foundational framework mod and the game rule mods. I think it's either of those that's causing the problems, but then again, it does appear to be a UI issue, which could be that, or it could be any of the other 130 mods. This is the price you pay. My worst case nuclear option here is I do have all the original mods backed up in a zip folder with the RNE mod manager. I was trying to basically just do that today to get the stream going and just say fuck it. That was not working. There's something to do, I think, like the pathing for those local mods that is a problem, which I can figure out, but that will take me at least hours, so I'm not going to do that tonight. Because I also do have other things later and tomorrow and every other day this week I have to do. So, all right, here's what happens. If I go to do just any casual UI interaction with CK3, it will let me do it. The problem is, and what I need to make the alliances necessary for the picks to enter into our Conflict of Britannia, is this button right here. It's debug main. I need to click on this button right here, because what this does is opens up all the other basically debug built-in CK3 commands I can do to characters. That's where the form alliances just automatically, right? And if you click any of the more options, even these as well, it will just crash the game. And I need to figure out what is causing that. I know, Zach. That's brother, I'm not having a good time either, but this is the price you pay. I know I said it before, but I can't understate this enough. I do a lot on the back end. That's completely fine. I choose to do it. But especially in the last Grand Campaign, folks, oh god, the amount of hours I spent fixing fucking Paradox bugs is just insane. Part of that is I'm doing my own grave there. I put a lot of mods into every single one of the games we go through, but when you do a Grand Campaign of this scale, why not? So here's what happens. Click that and it is going to crash. Yeah, so I've gone into the crash files as well. I'm going to go back in there for a minute. You're going to see a bit of my, I'm going to use air quotes here, process. All right, documents. I don't think I have anything. I think I've got all my, terabytes of dwarf pornography on a hard drive elsewhere, so there's no issues here with my files. It's all good. All right, CK3 crashes. Okay, so should be an error. The problem that I've noticed, and I've used these quite a lot over the years with the Grand Campaign, is that they're very bad. Or to put it another way, I'm not very good at understanding this. My knowledge of programming and code has gotten a bit better modding these games, but also recently with some stuff I'm doing on a project. But they're very difficult to determine exactly what is causing a problem, because there's a lot of back end, take a look for a second here, folks. When you have 130 mods, there's gonna be a lot of bugs, right? These are all bugs that are happening when I play this mod pack, all 130, right? They don't break the game though. They just cause problems that are resolved on the back end, and then you don't have to worry about them. The ones we care about are the one that is not doing that and is just crashing the fucking game, which is a goddamn nightmare. So, gotta determine what that is. So here's what's causing it. It is a character window opening, and it doesn't have another line, so it's not saying why this is crashing. Did our character die? No, our character's actually doing very good, Denise. So is it character? I still think it's probably a UI bug, though. I don't think it'll be this, but I'll check it anyway. Yeah, so it's opening character that is causing the crash. I think that is a UI bug. So, does anyone have any ideas, by the way? I will pause for a quick moment here. I'm going to try one or two other things I just thought of, but anyone have any ideas? I don't know if any of you guys have done extensive modding with CK3 or had, you know, similar things with big mod packs where you have to do this kind of thing, but has anyone got any ideas for this issue? It's the main reason, besides updating y'all. I did turn the stream on today. If not, that's fine. I think I will try one or two things, and then I'll have to call it and just work on this more this week. See if that guy responded yet. Nope. Unfortunate. Could you remove the UI mod? So what I could try and do, I wonder if it is like an RUI bug, potentially. That is an interesting idea. Let me try something. Jeez. So it might be the RUI character mod that is conflicting with the update with game rule and foundational framework. That could be what's causing it. I'll turn those back on, and then I will turn off RUI, and maybe that is what is causing this crash. We'll try that and see if it works. It is possible. Is there any way you can bypass the UI with whatever those debug codes are? Yeah, I could, but that's not a solution, right? There's some workarounds I could find for this like that, but if they are not going to work for this long term, I need to figure out the long-term issue. One of the biggest mistakes I made in the last Grand campaign, if y'all remember, I think it was in Vic, was doing something like that, where I was like, okay, I found this like short-term jerry-rigged solution to get the campaign to continue and not solve the core problem. It's fine, we'll keep going. I did that. We played for hours. The bug came back and broke it, and we had to just roll back like that entire gameplay, and I had to go fix the real issue, which was like, oh god, I don't know many. It was a lot of hours I spent on that, so I cannot do those sorts of solutions, unfortunately. Although I also considered that, but because if this continues, it will appear again. They always do, and it'll break the game and it'll break the save. So, got to get the core issue solved. Unfortunately. Remove half the mods and test again. Yeah, so I mean that's the other. That's the one I'm fearing. You're completely right, Denise. Yeah. So that's the other way to do this, is to do that, and it is so time consuming. It's not normally if you're using a few mods, but when you're using 130 mods like I am, it means like every time you launch it is 5 to 10 minutes, and so checking individual mods, just the time adds up so quickly. So we'll see. I'm curious if the UI issue might be it. I'm also curious what happens if we launch without the UI, given that it was in the save already. Sometimes you get some weird things with that. But if it's front end like that, it shouldn't be too big of a problem. In theory, maybe, hopefully. We'll find out. So, you know how like every campaign so far, I've gone out of my way to tell you all that like you need to expect this sort of shit? Especially if you did not watch my first Grand campaign, or you didn't watch the streams and you watched the edited videos. This is gonna happen a lot, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot stress this enough. This is why I've talked about this at the start of every single stream. This will happen. It's just the reality of playing with a lot of mods, playing with a Grand campaign where you have to transition your save files, and playing Paradox games in general, and then the update problems. That's why Stellaris had to end early. That was brutal. When Stellaris ended early, that was brutal, because there was absolutely, as far as I understood it, nothing I could do to fix that problem. There was nothing, because they literally Like, it was an update not to, like, game files or, like, mod files. It was an update to, like, the core code of Stellaris itself, such that even when I rolled back versions, it still was breaking the game. That one almost got me, ladies and gentlemen. That one almost made me rage a little bit. Okay, I raged a little bit, but not a lot of it. That's the key. So, that's not what we're dealing with here. This is a fixable problem. The question is just time. Ugh. Do I have any other UI mods on that could be causing this? That's another question. One thing that it could be too is potentially the upscale mod. I've got a mod on that like upscales basically, I think the resolution rate and some of the other things like with the UI itself, that might be causing a problem too. Then again, I still probably do need to go back and figure out how to get the Irony Mod Manager mods working, because if I can't have us basically have a resurrection option for this, we're building on a very infirm foundation here, which is not wise. Jesus, I have to find time for this week. Oh, man. Oh. Okay, just a straight up crash. That's fine. It happens occasionally. This is why you do have to be very careful when you play with lots of mods on, folks. It has a price. How's everyone doing, by the way? I will stream a little bit of bug fixing, why not? I've had a very good week. It's been spring break for me. I've been very busy. I've been getting ahead on schoolwork, working on my big research paper proposal. I have a project that I'm working on that has been so fucking fun and interesting, but equally exasperating, because I'm having to learn like basic coding for that, which I never really did. That's not true. Technically, my father did send me to a Java coding camp when I was like 13, when I was homeschooled. But given I spent most of that time playing Team Fortress 2 and not doing actual learning of coding, I don't think that counts. So, but it's been fun. Interesting project. Good for you as well. Hell yes, Sam. I've been working out a ton. I got my bike fixed finally, which is I've been avoiding that because the weather started getting good recently, which is so nice here. I enjoy the winter, but I'm also ready for it to be done. And I've been putting off repairing my bike because I needed to replace the brake pads on it and replace the tubes and probably the tires, and that was going to be expensive. But I got that done this week, so I've been biking a bunch, which is awesome. The town I moved to for college is really fucking nice. It's really pretty. And as it turns out, they have like fantastic, like 18-mile long bike path that is just incredibly beautiful. So I think it was not this, it was like I forget, Monday or Tuesday, I think. I got my bike fixed and I was like, I'm pretty fit right now. I got a rowing machine out there that I use like pretty consistently. I'm pretty fit right now. And I was like, biking. I can do the full thing in one go. I'm gonna do the full 18 miles. Fuck it. And yeah, I got halfway and I was like dying, of course, because it was fucking dumb. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. I can't get back. I have no way to, there's no buses, there's no roads out there. I couldn't hitchhike. It was just a circuit. So I was like, Jesus, I have to actually bike back. There's no way to get out of this. So I did that. And holy fuck, that was brutal. But it was really pretty, so it was nice. Yeah, which was intense. Turns out, I knew this, but I had a lot of hubris. I was like, you know, my rowing cardio is gonna automatically translate into biking cardio. That's how that works, right? That's a logical thing to think. It's not how that works, folks. Your body has a lot of muscles. Your body has a lot of shit going on in there. It's very complicated. So that was very dumb, potentially a little dangerous, but it was all good. So it's fine. Paper's going pretty good, V. It's my research paper that I'm writing like the proposal on for this class I'm doing, and then working on getting an advisor for that, and then I think next semester I'd work on it formally. It's on like sovereign wealth funds and the potential for decommodifying staple goods and like, you know, basic goods and stuff like that. The concept being that you've seen in places like Singapore and Norway, essentially the ability of their sovereign wealth funds to be utilized not just for like, you know, pure capital growth, right? Or even for just like adding funds into like the yearly state budget to decrease taxation or other burdens of cost, but rather just being explicitly used to either provide like staple goods or staple services and things like that, social goods in general. So the paper is fundamentally like looking at like past cases and developing kind of a framework for basically how important basic goods can be decommodified, or, you know, social goods can be provided to offset that cost to the average citizen in the country. It's fascinating and it's really enjoyable. It's just, you know, for me, that process of research has been kind of funny. I'm sure all of you fuckers have experienced, because you're all nerdy as shit if you're watching me stream right now. You know when you start getting into a subject you really enjoy, and you're loving it, and you're enthusiastic, and it's fascinating, and you're going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you start to be like, oh, I understand this a little bit. And then you keep going, and then it's like you pass that certain point. It's like when you're swimming, and like, you know, if you've ever swum like near like, you know, certain types of ocean, it's like, you know, the water gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and then there's just like that drop-off point. It's like that with knowledge, right, on certain areas. Like you're going, you're like, I get it, this is getting more complicated, but I understand it. And then you hit that point, you're like, oh my god, I don't know fucking anything. I have no idea what I'm doing. So that's where I got to the last few weeks, because I got deep enough, I'm like, oh fuck, okay. But it's a lot of fun, and it's challenging, which I like. All right, let's try this again. Let's see if the RUI mod potentially was the one causing this. And I mentioned earlier why like removing mods and replacing them is so hard with this mod pack. This is why. Did you see how long that took to load? It's like that every single time. All right. Let's see. I have one other solution I'll try after this as well. Crash. Okay. So in that case, what I'm going to do, I will not talk for a little bit now. I need to focus here because my brain doesn't allow me to do many things at once. Thank you very much. Sounds like when I climbed Inglebro for the first time. Where's that, Zach? Inglebrow? You did it, but yeah, no. Sometimes it's like that on hikes as well, especially when I've got so many stories about that and me, or like going with other people, and just being very overconfident in our fitness levels. And like, you know, especially with hikes, you know, you get out there and if you get to the halfway point and you realize you like, you're not as fit as you thought you were in relation to the difficulty. Yeah, it's a moment where you have to really like check yourself. All right, 1 second. Okay, I'm going to download the last fucking Paradox is gonna make me sign in. What the fuck did this? My login for this? Actually, let me make sure it's not on stream right now. Now we're good. All right, we're good. I'm gonna download the last non-updated version of Game Rule Gadget from Paradox Mods, and then I'm going to download the last version of Foundational Framework as well. And I'm going to replace them with the ones that I currently have in my mod list. And then potentially that could work. It is possible. When did this one update? Maybe. This looks good. Why do you not have a location? Downloads, I suppose. Yeah, okay. And then I will find mods. Okay. The problem now is this. This was me trying to get my localized saved versions of the original mods to work, and I was having issues with like using the local mod files, which that's something I'll need to sit down and figure out too. Fun, 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 fun. Are we Scots now? No, it's the pics are invading, remember? I don't know if you were here for last session or at the end. Yes, you were, Salmon. Before we start role-playing, can we get a world overview to start and see the divergences, especially in India? Yeah. No, if I actually get things working today, we'll do that. You know what? Even if we don't, I will load it and just like not do any edits, and we'll do a little look around the world just before I end stream, even if I have to do more. Have I changed more than my camera angle? How do you mean? Yeah, so just heads up, if you are here and you were not here for my full explanation, I am bug fixing at the moment. So we're just, yeah, pray to everything you hold holy that I get this figured out. This might actually be a big chunk of it right here, so we'll see. 18 miles, isn't that like 30 kilometers? I bike that daily. Yes, and it's not that bad really, Dark Noob, but like I hadn't biked in well over a year. And like rowing is very good for your cardio, but it's it hits more of like your core, I think, compared to biking, which is very leg heavy, right? And my bike also, like I had fixed it, like I'd fixed the tires, I got the tube replaced, they weren't pumped up enough, which I realized when I got back too. The brake pads were fixed, but I also needed to like completely like clean and oil my chain, which I had not done as well. Cause I got the tubes replaced and the brake pads done, and I was like, let's fucking go. I want to go bike right now. I'll do the rest of this later. So yeah, consider that the chain was just disgusting. I cleaned that, it's fine now, but all right, let's try this. Let's see if this works. Look at the engineering, architecture, and law for my degree. That'd be pretty interesting. All very technical. I have a lung infection based on how much I'm coughing. You could have post-nasal drip as well. That's a possibility. But, yeah, if it's bad, you should definitely go to a doctor. All right, so it would be game rule, gadget. Should be this, unless it's just going to show up at the bottom. They do that sometimes. Nope, doesn't look like it. We're at the top. Nope. I don't like that only one is showing up. That's worrying. I wonder if this is not the right one. Because they're zipped. I don't think they're supposed to be zipped. Ah, it's been so long since I've done this stuff. 6. Let's see if it shows up as that. No, it does not. Why are they showing up? I think that's what it is. I don't trust this. It looks way too easy. If something looks easy in Paradox when you're working on mods, something's wrong. If you're not actively struggling and it's painful to get it working at any point of the process, you are missing something in Paradox modding. Yeah, no, it's been a while, Dark. Like I've done a ton of rowing, but just not biking. And as someone who's biked off and on my whole life since I was a kid, like, you know, when you first start back up after not doing it for a while, it's usually pretty tough. If you do a longer one at least, but I had hubris. Yeah, okay, there we go. Not present on disk. That's what I thought. See if game shows up now. No. Okay. Let me think. Perhaps. Who betrayed the coalition? Game files, I guess. You know it's gonna be worse though. I don't think this will work, but I'll give this a try. I'm having to like recall how to do so much of this stuff from CK3. Once you start having to like use the local file locations and stuff, it just becomes such a nightmare. Here in my country, because the last government has defunded our healthcare, I can't go to a doctor on the weekend because there is no one there, only for life-threatening accidents. Ah, yeah. So I have to wait 15 hours before they open. I know that. I know that struggle, man. It's fucking sucks. Are you American or are you elsewhere? C, D, E, F, G. All right. Time to consult ChatGPT. It's time. Downloading mods directly from Paradox Mods on their site. I get a zip file. What to do with it? Give me step by step. By the way, I will say, folks, you know, I've been using it a lot for the campaign, but I've gotten real deep onto like AI shit lately. It relates to the project I've been working on. If you're not using this shit already, I know a lot of people like wary of it for very good reasons. If you incorporate this properly in like different parts of your life, it makes so much time. It frees up so much time and makes things so much easier. It's kind of insane. Okay. File location, mod directory. Yep. That doesn't sound right. Dialectical analysis of this process. Socratic. Reconsidering. I don't think it's right. It might be right. We'll see. Yes, we are debugging. What's up, Anrak? Share the YouTube videos to some people on Discord and thought it was the coolest shit ever. Hell yeah. I'm glad they enjoyed it. I gotta say, I'm enjoying this campaign so much, folks. It's already like my favorite campaign I've ever done in Paradox Games, period. That's why I'm really doubling down on like this little like conflict of Britain period here. It's gonna get very, very fun. I've also done a massive update to the fandom wiki. Thank you everyone else who's been helping with that. But I did a ton of updating on that. So if you like want something to do right now, it's not listening to me talk about the bugs for the game. I've linked it, I think, both places on Twitch and the YouTube stream, and that's got links to the different alliances and all the relevant characters and stuff. So if you would like to read about that, and also if I ever do get the stream working today or next week, and like you're listening to me roleplay these characters and you want to kind of know who's talking or who they are, it's all there. So I think it'll make it more fun. Oh, you're Dutch. That's surprising. The Dutch have been really good with social programs for a long time. I had a similar kind of situation where when I got mononucleosis over winter break, God, that was awful. I had this, so let me make sure I've done everything before I start talking about something here. Bear with me. The script auto-places zip files into the correct mod depository, extract them, and properly ensures no nesting issues. Auto-generation. That doesn't sound right. Yeah, when I got mononucleosis over winter break, which was really shitty, I had gone to like see a just like regular like what's it called? urgent care for it, and they'd given me some medicine, stuff like that. And then it got so bad, there was this one night, like I think it was a week later, because I'd run out of the meds they gave me. Jesus, it was bad. My throat, my throat was so like, what's it called? Inflamed, that like when I would shine a flashlight down my throat and look at it in the mirror, I could not see back all the way. It was completely closed up. As a result, there was like I think a week there during winter break. I want to say I slept 1 or 2 hours every night because I just couldn't get to sleep with that. And this one night, it was so bad that like I had just passed out from like exhaustion, and I couldn't breathe because it was so closed up. I started choking, and it was really bad. I got very scared because that was terrifying, and I wanted to go to like urgent care, and they were just closed after a certain night in the evening, and then the emergency room was the only option and stuff. So I know the pain of like services being cut. It fucking sucks, dude. It's crazy. This is not what I'm looking for. Let me think here. Bear with me. I had issues with this before, but I will give this a shot. Maybe. If this is the solution to this problem, that would be probably drive me a little crazy. It's fine. No, but that wouldn't work though. Give it a shot. Why not? And this is why I didn't turn the stream on earlier, folks. It's not exciting. You're at 1.1 Phantom articles for the campaign. You know, every little bit helps, so I appreciate that too. The post-Roman setting for the Grand Campaign has given me a hyperfixation on that era recently. Yeah, no, me too. I've been just doing like casual Wikipedia reading because I'll be thinking about something about the Grand Campaign. I'll be like, that's interesting. And I'll go like on a little Wikipedia tirade. And then it's like, okay, I need to stop. I have actual things I need to be doing right now. All right, let's try this. Our last PM, Mark Rutte, was wiggling his way out of all responsibility by becoming a leader of EU. From the start as a PM until now, our healthcare has been defunded more and more. My understanding of Mark Rutte was always that he was a very good speaker, very good politician, and actually fairly good in terms of like your foreign relations and foreign policy. But domestically, he was like not quite full neoliberal in like the American sense, but more like that like really weird kind of like European neoliberal. Got the green light to take the poli-sci classes from a mage, even though you're not usually for it. Congrats, Anorak. That's cool. That'll make things much more enjoyable for you. You don't have to waste your time on bullshit classes. Like the rest of us. No. That's so dumb. I hate that so much. Okay. know what? That's fine. We'll just do game roll gadget and see if we can get that to work. Theoretically, it might work. If you ever use mega mod packs, you might learn something here, by the way. I'm explaining what I'm doing right now. So, like, basically, like, what was happening, just to explain, like, what I've been doing here, is there was an update for a mod. The update basically made it so it was not compatible with the version and with the other mods. I downloaded, like, from Paradox Mods directly. They have all the mods there, and they have, like, the different versions of the mods. The one that we needed. I got the local files working. I then put that new one from the local files into my playlist. I put it at the same place in the mod list order as the old one, like this, and I'm going to turn off the old one. I don't know if this will work. It still might have problems, but in theory, it allows you to replace just a single one, like almost a surgery, right? And then you can sometimes keep going. It's one of the big workarounds I've found for these sorts of issues. RFK Jr. being Secretary of Healthcare is honestly just comedic. Yeah, it's funny, like, until you really think about, like, the people who are going to die and be hurt by it. I agree, it is objectively very funny sometimes, and it's just, like, the absurdity of it. Like, in the same way, sometimes, like, something horrible happens to you and you have to just sit there and laugh, because, like, what else do you do? But there's always the human suffering component, which is a little rough. Space.io? Am I gonna get like some Russian malware if I click on that salmon? The European neoliberal, the only people who have real anime hairstyles. God damn it. That's funny. Come on! I believe. Because again, the big problem from what I had seen was the game rule mod. So if like it is actually going to path correctly to the local files with the one I downloaded, this might fix the problem. It might. One thing that I've also learned in my stupid amounts of hours fixing Grand Campaign bugs is that like oftentimes I will go down so many elaborate different like paths to try and figure out how to fix it, and then it's just some stupidly simple solution that works, which, you know, is kind of funny but also drives me a little insane. So I believe. I'll just run the music back, honestly. Any other ways? Check that Discord again too. I wonder if this is actually successful for some reason. I'm gonna take a break because like it's been a long time. I would take a break and then I would do a stream today, probably like for 2 or 3 hours. I just get straight into it, we'd automatically get going. I think I've got the energy for that, but I'm gonna be pretty brutal with that. If I get pretty exhausted a couple hours, then I will just cut off stream. I would like to play there. I mean, I'm at the point like every week I'm really looking forward to playing this campaign, so I would also like to just play it, but I don't want to force it either. Yeah, Dark Noob, that's the thing, and that's why, like, y'all, if you watched me for a while, you know, I used to talk about politics all the time, because I do find it legitimately interesting, but, like, the present course for so many countries, especially mine, is just so... It's not as bad. It's just like, it's exhausting to talk about. And I think it's important not to look away from like important things that suck, right? Don't just put your head under the sand, but like also, I know for y'all and I know for me, like I stream because I enjoy it. And this is like one of the parts of my week I get to just decompress and enjoy a game and not have to think about all my other things, right? So that's why I've really shied away from it nowadays. Because I just want to play my strategy roleplay games and chill, so. Because it does get you angry, you know. And that's important, but it's also important just to enjoy certain things in your life. All right, see if we get to main menu. Oh, Jesus. The interesting thing about wearing glasses nowadays, which I mostly do, I don't need them all the time, but if I'm staring at a screen for a while or reading, I need them, is how often they get dirty and I don't even notice. It's like, you know, there's a lot of things that like when they change subtly in front of you, whether like, you know, long-term or short-term things, you don't notice. And it's always funny for me nowadays where like I've got my glasses on for a while and they get dirty and I don't realize it because it just creeps in and then I notice. And it's like, how did I not notice that? That's very weird. How do you feel about CK3 adding China soon and the next chapter? So it's I have mixed feelings about it. I'm glad they're doing it. They should not have done it now. It is a money grab because it's flashy, it's big, it will get people to press the buy button. They can charge a lot of money, and for good reason, right? It's a lot of work. It will also work on getting more of like the Asian player base and consumer base that Paradox wants into their games. That's great. Should it have been their next priorities for DLC? Absolutely not. Nor should the step have been that. They need to work on trade. They need to work on economy. They need to redo a bunch of the core mechanics that I would pay for a DLC for. They need to add republics and a papacy like mode like that, right? Those are things that needed to come first. But there's the reality of like, you know, the company that makes it, right? So within that, I'm excited this is the way that they went. Like in terms of there many options for like money grabs, I'm glad that they went this route because they're both very interesting and it will make the game larger and more fun. And China is fascinating in this time period. So getting to play in that is really cool. I also have a problem with it because I know they're just like obviously mass taking ideas from like the modders who have made this stuff already and it is out there for you to play. And that annoys me a little bit, right? But like, again, in terms of money grabs, like I can live with this one, right? And it's gonna be fun. We're all gonna enjoy it. And they get to basically charge us all the price for a new game and stack their money and make their shareholders happy. So I guess everyone wins, but I just wish that they would stick to like what really is needed. But that's also unrealistic from my expectations for them, right? So it's, as I said, mixed feelings. Very mixed feelings. Yeah, no, they're hitting that China market hard. I mean, good for them, right? I guess, but yeah. Grand campaign with China would be fun hidden. I fully agree with you there. I don't currently have a PC that can handle that with the mods I want. I don't have that, so I couldn't have done that. I would have to have either included China and cut down on the mods, which would have made the game much less interesting, or I would have had to cut out the China DLC and played with the mods I wanted, which would have made probably a lot of y'all frustrated for good reason. So it's kind of, I'm glad I started before it because that eliminated that predicament. Come on, I believe. European neoliberalism. Susie, I know it can feel frustrating, but like, I'll just say this. If you ever feel bad about your variant of it, just look at America and Britain and it'll make you feel better. I would have preferred a College of Cardinals mechanic and the ability to play Republics. Yeah, 100% Zach. I would have paid their stupid prices for that too, just because it's so fun, right? I would have paid it. That's interesting. I wonder if that's a problem. I had a pop-up, I'm remembering now, like when I first launched the game today, and it said that my base mods from CK3 from Steam was missing, I want to say like better map textures or something like that. I wonder if missing a map texture mod, which has relations to like the UI, could potentially be causing this. I would have a version of that backed up in like my saved collection mods, but that I still run back to the problem where I need to figure out how to get it to work. That might be another thing I could figure out this week. But yeah, no, College of Cardinals and like playing out Theocracies and playing out Republics, that should have been their next DLC. And then with that, they should have done like, I think the DLC I would have pitched them would have been Republic overhaul, making Republics playable, making interesting dynamics, adding a naval system, adding a very light trade system, and reworking their econ system. Not completely, but a little bit. That I would say would be their next DLC. They could charge $20, $30 for that, and everyone would have paid for it. After that, they should have done like a religion one. So they would have made religious characters playable, churches playable, add like an estate mechanics for churches, and then add like a religious like organization system for some of the other big religions like Orthodoxy maybe, and a few other interesting ones, stuff like that. Charge a bunch of money for that too. That they would have been building up their like core like mechanics, and then they could add on like fluff like China, right? So, but it's what it is. No. Oh, the dev responded. Maybe it's IMHO not having updated properly. Try using the button in the launcher that forces mod updates or unsub and resub on Steam. Someone else had the same issue. Okay. That sounds potentially promising. Maybe. Maybe. Paradox had once stated that they can't change the way how they plan the DLC releases because they were all pre-planned from the start. Yeah, I remember the original roadmap and stuff, which is just so fucking dumb. You know for a fact it was not the creative portions of that dev team who made that plan and is enforcing it. You know that for a fact. And that's why I always get so fucking exasperated at how Paradox functions nowadays. It's just so gross. What's up, Pat? Yeah, we'll look over the World Salmon. I'm not doing that yet, though. I want to try out what this guy said. Looking at desktop background. Yeah, you're getting a good look at my, like, Death of Seneca background painting I put up. It's to remind me of death constantly, because I've been an edgelord reading Stoicism lately. I think I've shown on stream before as well. My aunt made this for me a while back. It's a 3D printed skull that she painted. And I've got it over on my desk so it stares at me every morning I wake up. Because I'm being a stoic edgelord. Alright. That's good. Something wasn't updated. Found this game through Steam Stale. Is it at the right price now, or do I still hold out and see it? Well, let me see how much it is. I'll give you some options too here. $15? I think we can beat that. Unless there's like a bundle that's cheap. That's not bad. Let me check something. Bear with me, Truth. I'll give you a good answer here. do not already use this site, I recommend you do whenever you are trying to buy a game. Little heads up, folks. Whenever you're on Steam and you see a Steam sale or anything else like that, and you're thinking about buying a game, don't just click the button. Come on a site like this or one near it. That's just Ukrainian flag. All right. Let's see. Yeah, so the price is actually pretty good from the looks of it. Oh wait, does this not include key sites? It doesn't. I think I'm on the wrong site. Bear with me. There's a few of these that are pretty good. There's one I have used. Where is that thing? Maybe? I'll make this easy. I'll just go to the site I normally use. It's actually a pretty good price, not gonna lie. How much is it on Steam? 15. Yeah, so you can get a little bit cheaper if you want it. Kingwin, which is the main key site I use, you can use GTA too. There's a few other ones, but Kingwin I've just never had issues with. They've got it for 12 bucks, so it's a little bit cheaper if you want to use like the Steam key here. But with like, it's not going to be much. So yeah, it's a pretty good fucking price. I did not realize how cheap it was right now. So I just get it on Steam, so you don't have to deal with the hassle unless you want to. So yeah, no, it's the best price I think it's actually probably ever had. So I would 100% buy it if I was you. It's a really good game. I will say that DLC, don't go to G2A, fair. Yeah, I stopped using GTA a long time ago. I know people who still do though. I use Kingwin, but yeah, it's a pretty good price. I will say the DLC aren't like completely required, but they're pretty important. So yeah. All right, we forced the update. Maybe that's IMHO not having updated properly. Oh, in my humble opinion? Really? Huh. I think I have that one on. Let me check. Bear with me. It did update, and that update might be the problem because it's for 1.15, which I'm not using. I'm using 1.14. I'm gonna try 3 other things. This stream may go longer than I expected it to, because I feel like we're pretty close here. First, I'm gonna try and launch it with this updated version right now and see if this works. If that doesn't work, I'm going to actually go back to Steam and I'm gonna update the full just CK3 version to 1.15. I don't expect that to work, but it's worth a try. And if that doesn't work, I'm gonna have to download like from Paradox Mods, like the old version of In My Humble Opinion, and then replace that, and maybe that will work. I have actually a feeling one of those might be it, so I will keep this going a bit longer. Yeah, it's a good game. There's some good guides for it on like YouTube and stuff like that to learn. If you've never played a Paradox game like these before, they do get pretty complicated. It's worth it. They're fantastic. Take the time for it. But my recommendation is two things. One, go find some good YouTube guides that like don't waste your time. A lot of YouTubers and Paradox who do tutorials, they will purposely drag out their whole video to make you like watch longer and to get more ad revenue. So try and find I don't know for CK3, I could recommend you for other games good channels, but find a CK3 YouTube tutorial guy who doesn't like, you know, pretty quickly, we've all watched YouTube, you know when they're wasting your time for ad revenue. Find one that just tells you how to play the fucking game right, and watch like one or two of those. And then I recommend you use this site as well while you're playing, just so you don't lose your mind, if you're, you know, willing to use it. This is the Crusader Kings 3 wiki. It is really, 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 really useful. It gets a little technical if you let it, but you don't have to let it, right? And it allows you to understand the game a lot better. So it'll let you like really understand the game functions and like the different game mechanics. So find a good YouTube video or two on how to play the game and check out the wiki, and you'll have a great time. It's a really good game. And then the mods are amazing too. So you'll have it on Steam, go to the workshop, and then there's all sorts of cool mods you can play with individually. If you want to start with a base game, that's completely fine, go for that. But what you can do, and I recommend for anyone watching as well, if you want to have the best out of any Paradox game, and especially CK3, go to collections, sort by the most popular in the last 6 months, or you could even do like a year all time if you want. Since the game just updated, you go to filter by date, and you want to make sure it's been updated in the last month. And then just find like one of the big packs that looks pretty fun based on what you want to play, right? So this looks promising, for example, right? This is a very like light one, right? Download the mods, play with the mods, make sure that they are ordered correctly, and the mods they make the game so much better. So I recommend you do that. It's good, but not EU4 wiki good. Yeah, but that's just because like EU4 has just made their game purposely so over fucking complicated at this point. In all the wrong ways. You know, back in my day, when EU4 had just barely came out and that site still existed, it was so, like, there's so little on it. Instant gaming as a base key for $11, that's not bad. Yeah, it is a pretty good deal though. I mean, I find when like the keys and like the Steam prices are just like pretty similar, I just do Steam just so it's a little bit safer, you know, but it's up to you. All right, let's pray this works. Maybe. Truth, I also will probably not be playing if you're still here for a little while. I'm playing with 130 mods on right now, which I don't recommend you do since you just started. But it is a little brutal. Thank you for the subs, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for the those gifted subs, much appreciated. But there's a bit of a balance when you play CK3 and you get going. Like I recommend you start with some mods, but start with very few, like that mod pack I kind of saw for a second there, like 20 mods. It'll make your game significantly better when you start. It'll fix some big issues, but it won't cause like massive problems like this. I'm playing with 130 mods on. The upside, it is incredible and is made for one of the most impressive and fun video game experiences of my life. On the other side, I've been bug fixing it for almost 5 hours straight today, and I still have not figured out the issue. So here's a bit of a trade-off there, right? Mods are a balancing act. The more you do, the more fun it is, but the more problems you have, the less you do. You know, it's less impactful, but it's way more stable. So, yeah. And I appreciate that, man. It is a fantastic game. I feel a little bit of envy for you, I'm not gonna lie. Anyone else have that feeling ever, by the way? Where like you see, like you get one of your friends into a Paradox game, or you like see someone getting into Paradox games for the first time, and you're like, that's cool, and a little part of your brain is just like, fucking asshole, I wish I was playing these games for the first time again, because they're always fun, but the first time you do anything you really enjoy, it's always a little special, isn't it? So, you'll forgive me a little bit of envy. But then again, it's interesting. Like, I bought CK3 on launch the day of. I came home from work so excited, I downloaded it, I had it like ready to go. I played the first, you know, CK3 when it dropped. I played it for an hour straight, and I got very, very sad, because it was, as with most Paradox games, not very good on launch. But Again, Truth, if you've not played Paradox games often, something to always remember for these is like when they launched, they're absolutely awful. And then like with DLC that you have to pay for, and then with modders, which is like the community making updates and just whole on features, it gets progressively better and better and better. So it's always important to remember. CK3 is now at that point, I think it is just able to stand alone as like probably borderline the best objectively of the Paradox games at this point. I think I would give it that title. I enjoy Victoria 3 the most, but that's just because I respect the features very deeply. But I think in terms of just like quality of game, quality of updates, quality of mods made by the community, and quality of DLC, I would probably consider at this point Crusader Kings 3 to be the best Paradox game, which I'm not going to pretend is like objective. It's just how I view it, but it's fun. DLCs will not cause you problems, Truth. DLCs, when you buy them, are made by the company and incorporated directly into the game. You're not going to have bugs related to DLCs. I'm sure people have had them out there before. It's not going to be you. You will be fine. The DLCs integrate perfectly into the game, like in a modular manner. You will not encounter issues based on that. It is the workshop mods made by the community, which is some of like the best stuff. And some of them, frankly, are higher quality than full-on paid DLCs, but they are innately more unstable. The updates lag behind, and that's where you'll get issues. But with the DLCs, you'll be fine. So, if it wasn't for the mods, I wouldn't buy it. I'd still buy it. I just wouldn't play it nearly as much as I have over the years. So, all right, let's see if this did anything. One missing mod disappeared. That's interesting. Yeah, the modding community does deserve more credit. I know that Paradox does like acknowledge it a bit by like they will hire modders like onto like their team, right? But like, I don't know, man. I've talked about it before. I think Paradox really takes their modders for granted. I don't know the easy solution for how they should go about doing it, but I feel like they need a system where like on their community, like on the workshop on Steam, like the top 100 mods, they straight up need to be paid a good chunk of money every year for maintaining it. That team, you know, divide the money between the team, figure that out. I know it'd be a nightmare to figure out the logistics of that, but given the amount of money that like Paradox Games and the company makes off of the modders, like the people who just buy these games just for that, they need to be paying those teams like just in chunks of payments. Not a ton, but they should be doing that. So, you know, it's not right. And it kind of pisses me off. But the more you look at the game company for anything like this, the more like that will happen. So it is what it is. So, and at the end of the day, modders are a different breed of human being, right? They know they're not going to get anything out of doing it, and they do it anyway because they just legitimately enjoy the games, which you gotta respect that. You really do. It's crazy, honestly. How many hours do you have in CK3? Oh God, do I want to check that? It's gonna be a lot. All right, I'm gonna show you guys my game hours. I've done that before. I will say a tiny bit of cope before I do keep in mind I will have games on and pass out and leave them on overnight. So not all of my hours are me playing. I want to underline that so you don't think I'm an insane person. That being said, even with that, the hours are pretty ridiculous. So let's see where they're at. 1,200 hours, so I'd say probably like 600 to 800 hours. That's about right. Yeah. It's a lot. Hoi 4 is the most. I've left it on a lot, though. EU4 is a lot, but I've also left it on a lot. When I was younger, I played EU4 since it came out, and I would just like like in college and community college, I'd play like my EU4 campaigns to like pass out at my computer. So it's I know it's copium, all right. I know it's copium. It is. I acknowledge it is, but it's also got some truth to it. Does that dramatically change how much time I spent in these games? No, but it's important for me to cope with it, you know? So it's a lot of hours. But I like the games, man. They're fun. We all have our things we enjoy and put too much time into. The difference is Steam tracks them so you can't hide. Some people in their hobbies, you know, you can hide from how much time you spend in them because there's no way to track it. You know, in the back of your mind, you put a lot of time into it. With video games and Steam libraries, you can't hide from it. It will always tell you what you're doing. I know it's copium, okay? Let me cope in peace, you jerk. All right, let's see. Come on. Okay. Unsubscribe and resubscribe from Steam. That's another option I had not actually considered here. I am going to try that because that's actually been a huge issue for things in the past. So I'm explaining what I'm doing here. If you ever had issues with mods like this, sometimes a mod will not update or it will update wrong, and it will just always crash your save file if you try and work with it or try and get it to work, period. Especially in multiplayer, this can be an issue. One workaround, which is what the dev just recommended for me, is you go find all of them, you unsubscribe from them like what we're doing right now. What I'm going to do after this is I'm going to exit out of Steam entirely, restart my Steam, go resubscribe to them, and force it to update properly. And sometimes that will fix issues like this. I actually don't expect this to work, but I want to eliminate it before I try other things. It's the problem with bug fixing anything is you have to do all the stupid things first. You start out with EU4 at 1500 hours until I discovered Anbinar, and now you're up to 3100. Anbinar is a great mod. I enjoy Anbinar greatly. What I do not enjoy is the Anbinar player base. I know that's going to sound mean, but like they're so fucking... There's a lot of communities that like love their lore and love their game and love their like whatever for good reason, but I hate gatekeeping, man. And one thing I've always encountered with like hardcore Anbinar players is the amount of like gatekeeping that comes with that community really rubs me the wrong way. But the mod itself is amazing. The devs have worked so hard on it. It is incredible. Okay, now we're going to go make sure I got rid of all of them. Sure the bug isn't in your save file? No. If it is that, I swear to actual Jesus, I will lose my mind. So when I launch this back up, I will load my other save before I did certain edits, and we'll see if that works. If it does, I'm going to do my best not to lose my mind on stream. I may have to pause stream so I can go yell into a pillow, but we'll continue after that. Okay, so I've unsubscribed from all the mods. What you now do is you right click, you exit Steam. You wait a second. You wait a second. You wait a second. No, I should put these in a folder. Doxing myself. All right. We'll restart Steam. Then we will go back to the mods, and we will resubscribe to them and force them to update. Foundational framework, prisoners of war. My humble opinion, game rule gadget. I didn't have entitled apparently. My humble opinion. TNT, which one was that? Trick or treat. Okay. Now we tell Elstores to fuck off. I don't trust it to have updated, but we'll see. What's up, Liling? All right, everything is updated. That worries me. Some of the mods are not present on the disc. I'll have to go through the list. One of the mods that I had apparently got deleted from the Steam Workshop itself for some reason, and that could be part of the issue here too, which would really suck. But it's so weird that the game will like actually go into the save before that. That's what is bugging me. All right, let's see if this works. Oh, Jesus. Oh. Bone popping noises. I've been relegated to second monitor content. I mean, that's high praise. If the fact that I was the main monitor content to begin with is already high praise, Salmon. So, you know, I don't know what you intended with that message, but I'm going to take that as an enormous compliment, so you know. Switch the music out too. I've been sitting here for a while. We might as well listen to something a bit more interesting. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm forgetting. I will try also to load the save before I make edits. There is always a chance that is part of the problem. I really hope that's not the problem. Because A, I'd have to redo a ton of edits, and B... oh man, I don't even know what would cause that. Down a bit too. You want to see what I've been reading lately? Since we're just sitting here doing nothing. I've got 2 books I've been reading through currently. The first one is this. Look how fucking thick this shit is. I read this when I was younger and I'm rereading it now. And I always clarify when I talk about it. I'm not like a giant fucking Marxist. I have major issues with communism. But Marx is a very intelligent human being, and his writing and his dialectical, Hegelian dialectic style I've just always loved. So I've been rereading through that. It's enjoyable, but like brutal. Because it's interesting. There's something that's changed for me in like the last few years. When I used to read, especially nonfiction, like philosophy and history, I read it obsessively since I was a kid, is like, I had an approach to reading that was that I wanted to get through it. Like when I was younger especially, like books were almost like achievements for me in a way. Like I'd read and I would understand it. I didn't just like rush through it per se. But I prioritize speed over thoroughness, because for me it was almost like checking books off a list, right? And like nowadays I don't do that. Now like I really will slow down and like I will reread a portion of a book over and over until I understand the core concepts, because now for me it's more about understanding, and I think it is a much better way to approach reading. The problem is when you read a book that is this thick, it does take a lot of time, so it's been interesting. There's a really good YouTube lecture, and then like he read a book too that I've read parts of, from David Harvey. He's like a professor who specializes in Marx and Marx's Capital, which is always, I've been reading it kind of alongside my rereading of this. Because for me, like, we're not going to get deep in politics here, but like, I am a believer in free market capitalism in certain contexts. I think the free market and commoditization and things like that and capital is not as like disastrous as Marx suggests, but the crises of capital and the dangers of capital and Marx's perspective on value and capital and money and value and motion stuff is just fascinating. And I think like anyone, even like this just like gigantic, like, who's that fucking, the guy who's in charge of Argentina right now? I forget his name. That kind of like Hayek Friedman, like liberal who would like give Milton Friedman a blowjob if he ever like came back from the dead. Those guys should read this kind of stuff and get a perspective on it. And that's why I'm rereading Marx. Not because like I really deeply believe in a lot of his conclusions, but his way of looking at capital and looking at like, you know, markets and economics is just so interesting. So it's been fun. Javier Milei, yeah, that's the one. Javier Milei, I will give him credit. I've watched some of his interviews. He does understand the Mont Pelerin guys pretty well. Like Hayek and Friedman and all the rest of them. His grounding in like that form of just like neoliberalism, like free market capitalist, like ideology, he understands it very well. You could say many things about Javier Milei, but I will say he knows his shit. The problem is, I think, with like, he suffers from the same issue a lot of like hardcore Marxists I've met have suffered from, which is that they find a system that they like and they only read from it and they don't read other systems, and it limits them so badly. So I wish people like that would be willing to read outside of their comfort zone. It's a real shame. That's what I'm trying to do too, because again, I'm not going to get done with reading Capital again and be like a hardcore Marxist. I'm just not. I've read Hayek recently as well, and I've dramatically changed my views on a lot of things from that. I read Friedman a bunch like a year ago or 2 years ago, and I hate Friedman, but Hayek I really do like and appreciate. He's a very intelligent guy and he has good perspectives, but it's important like that. You got to read people you don't innately agree with, because you'll understand their viewpoint better. You'll understand your view on the subject matter better, and it will make you like challenge your ideas if you let it, which is really interesting. Milei is an economist? Yeah, he is. He understands that shit very well, but he has not allowed himself, perhaps not even just like, maybe he did read outside of it a little bit, but he didn't really let himself try and think about those ideas. That's what I've always gotten from like watching his interviews, is he is a pretty smart guy. He understands his stuff very well, but he's very limited in his perspective. All right, see if this works. Actually, I will try one thing as well. Hopefully, no, this will not work. So I will try this first, and then if this doesn't work, I'll try an old save. Nope. Okay, so it was not the mods being updated. That was not the issue. All right, I'm gonna try a radical solution. I don't expect this to work, but you never know. Where's the Grand Campaign 2 wiki? It is literally pinned to the top of the Twitch chat, Salmon. My idol rug pulled his entire nation. Yeah, with like the shitcoin, right? That you're pushing? Pretty funny. I've been reading the Federalist Papers along with the founding documents lately. Those are very interesting. I read the Federalist Papers when I was younger, and I actually should read them again. They're really, really cool. I found myself at the time when I was younger, even then, disagreeing with like a lot of their concepts, but being able to understand the Constitution and like the founding of America through a more enumerated and like long-winded perspective, even though the Federalist Papers are very short compared to like the Constitution's very interesting. If you're an American, I think pretty much every American should have to read the Federalist Papers in like school, which we don't, which is weird, but they're interesting as hell. I know only that this is about him and Argentina. Clone your old save, that could also work. I'm gonna try like I'm gonna try launching with like the latest version and see if that works, and then I'm gonna roll back to the old version and try launching an old save and then see if that works. I think that's what I'll do next. Also, it's already 5 o'clock. God damn. This is the problem with fixing Grand Campaign issues. The nice thing though is I know this process is worth it, because like the more bug fixing I would do for each of the games when I did the last Grand Campaign, the better I got at dealing with these issues. So It sucks now, but I know in the long term it will make everything easier. I've been referencing the Enlightenment philosophers. They're talking about to understand natural rights and property rights and such. Which ones in particular? I assume, obviously the boy. Locke, of course. Probably Hobbes, maybe? Are you doing any Hobbes? Or like Voltaire or something? Definitely, I would imagine, Anorak, you've been reading Locke, right? Locke is like the foundation for property rights and the importance in like state governance and elected bodies and representative governments. Locke and Burke, yeah, they're interesting. I loved Locke when I was young. I read the Second Treatise of Government around the same time I read the Federalist Papers, and I loved Locke when I was young. I read him recently again for a class that I had to take, but it was actually ended up being good because it made me reread some stuff with a very different angle. And I don't like Locke as much as I used to, for several reasons. The main one is like a lot of people, and me when I was younger, treated Locke as like more like a standalone person in his ideas, which he is. But when I reread like the Second Treatise of Government and some of other Locke's works and stuff, I realized how much Locke was just building his arguments and his values and his structures as a response to other thinkers. And there's nothing wrong with that because, like, especially in the modern world and even the Enlightenment period, a lot of philosophical and thinking work had been done before. So of course, you're always building on the ideas of other people, right? But when I reread Locke, something I had not seen when I first read him that really I had to like think about a bit was I'm curious what you think on this, Anorak, or anyone else, is how much of Locke's theory are like just coming as a response to other thinkers like Burke, right? And that really made me reevaluate how I saw Locke and how much I appreciated his ideas. It's not like them not being like coming out of just pure intuition or the form of ideas makes them not as worthy. But it made me realize that there's an innate like bias in how he's constructed a lot of those principles, and that was kind of made me do a little bit of a reevaluation. I still agree with a lot of Locke's core ideas. They're foundational to like modern like democracies and republics and governments, but I don't know, man. Made me rethink some of my opinions on him and some of those ideas in general as well. And property rights as well, I mean, especially approaching like, you know, Marx's form of like capital and in terms of how it functions has made me reevaluate how I view property rights as well. Not in terms of like the right of every individual to have like their, you know, personal properties like my, you know, canteen as being mine, right? But more of like the fact that Locke, obviously, like a lot of those guys, they view property rights within the context of, you know, this book that I own, the bed that I own. Also, if I did, which I don't because I'm poor as shit, if I owned land or I owned large amounts of money that I utilized in the form of capital through investment and like, you know, modes of production, they would put all those things into a singular category, which is fair, but I think is wrong. And that's made me reevaluate how I kind of view Locke's premises and like the premise of like those sorts of things with like the American Constitution and some of the thinkers like Jefferson. I don't know. It's like just almost feels like a bit of a simplification now as I look at it. I don't know, it's interesting. I feel like their logic for nature as a source of ethics is sound-ish. But they definitely insert their own biases when it comes to ideas about property and stratification of society. Yeah, definitely. And Locke was better than a lot of guys, like, you know, Hobbes or Burke, right? Definitely way better. But there's still a lot of that ongoing. It's also, you know, the thing is, like, they're always a product of their time, right? That's always a big thing. But the problem with that is that especially when they're just such monoliths of history and thought like Locke is for so, like, you know, for a lot of us, and like, and America, Locke is built into everything in America. Everything. He's built into the people who made America. He's built into the thinkers who have led America ever since its conception. He's built into our legal system and like the things we assume to be correct. He's built into every fucking lawyer and justice who is ever and currently oversees our country. He's built into the Constitution. And there's nothing wrong with that. He has a lot of really good, powerful, interesting ideas. But when you start to look at it and realize perhaps there was enough bias to put doubt into the superstructure ideas that these things are built on, for me at least, it really makes me start to question things a little bit. Not because I disagree with a lot of like the results of it or the systems as a whole, but because like when you build a foundation, which is what governments are and, you know, civilization is in general, if your foundation is built with cracks, you should probably like take a look at what they are, right? And at least try and understand them, so if they cause problems later, you can do something about it. My point being, like, some of Locke's ideas I felt were formed out of bias, out of response, not like, you know, active choice and active building up of things. And then they're overgeneralizations, which is just what happens, right? But when you build that so deeply into important institutions and things, you run into some problems, I think, right? Not just in terms of how they're built, how they're maintained, how they're ran, but in how people view them and how they interact with the state, right? So, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Can't roll that save back now? Can you not? It's worked for me in the past. Maybe I caused all this problem when I did this before. That'd be funny. I swear to God if that's what I did. I had done it before and had no problem. Yes, crash. Okay. So one thing I will now try is I'm going to roll back the version of CK3. This is the last thing I'm going to try today, and I'm probably going to end the stream. I'm going to roll back to our version we were using before, and then I'm going to load the old save before I did these recent edits, and we'll see what happens. The mod's updated and you're playing the older version of the game. That's almost certainly the main problem, and I've been trying to find a workaround for that earlier, and I couldn't. So that's like the big issue here. I always consider myself an intelligent person until I listen to an actually intelligent person speak. Yeah, they do be like that. That's the vibe I get when I read Marx. Like, sometimes I get a little like, you know, my brain's not too bad. My brain works pretty well on a good day when I'm like mildly functional. And then you read someone like Marx, you can hate his ideas all you want, and that's completely valid, especially given the problems that they've caused. But if you really read him with an open mind, you stop and it really humbles you, because like, yeah, this is what real intelligence looks like. Jesus, man. Yeah, no, I get that vibe, man. It's like that with a lot of writers too. I don't know where we've gotten to on music. You can't fix it tonight. Can you send me to the mod list via Discord? Yeah. So what I will do if I cannot get this working right now is I will probably send like the save. I'll send the mod list onto people, like onto the Discord. If anyone has some free time this week and would like to do me a giant favor, even if you spend like 10 minutes taking a look at it and seeing if you can see any like big issues or potential solutions, and let me know. That's all I would. If you could do that, I would massively appreciate that. You don't even have to spend a lot of time, but if you even just take a little look at it, I'll do it as well this week. I'll find some time to set aside and really get this done for next Sunday. I'm confident I can find a solution to this. The question is just like how long I will need to spend to get a solution, right? So clone your old save before opening it, otherwise you might lose your backup, and that sucks. That's very true. Now, I have not touched the original save. I've only been using like my edited ones. So yeah, we'll try this. I have not gone back and like changed the original save I took when I first just saved the game at the end of stream last time. So, have you read any of the works of Machiavelli? Oh, brother and or sister. Yes. Machiavelli was the first person who got me interested in history and politics. I was a bit of an edgelord when I was young. When I was like, I don't remember how old I was. I was embarrassingly young. I was 11 or 12, I think, or 13. That was before my mom died, so I would have been like 10, 11, or 12. I found a copy of Machiavelli at my library because, like, I remember it being a big deal too, because like for a long time I would go to my public library and my parents would only let me use the kids section, then they'd let me use like the young adult section, and then pretty young I had read through so much of both of those sections at our library. It was pretty small. That was like, I'm running out of things to read. Can I go in the adult section now? And they're like, yeah, sure. And so you know, which is where you find dangerous ideas, like Atlas Shrugged, for example. That's a pretty dangerous book, I would say. If I ever had a kid and caught them reading it, I'd consider corporal punishment. But I found Machiavelli's The Prince and I read it, and I got obsessed with that book, dude. Jesus. I've read The Prince in my life at least a dozen times. I'd say probably closer to 2 dozen times. Mainly when I was younger, I'd read it over and over again because I found it interesting. And like a lot of books, I found that every time I read it, I understood it better. There's a few books I've done that with. The Prince I've probably done that the most with. I've also read his other works. I can't think of the names off the top of my head. I have a really good, actually, biography on him somewhere. All my books are in boxes right now in my closet because I haven't got a bookshelf yet. But there's a really good, also, if you like Machiavelli and find him interesting, there's a really good biography on him that is good to read as well. I forget the name of it. But I like his ideas. But Machiavelli's The Prince is, I think, an important book to read. Change the music here as well, so it's not depressing as fuck. It's a good song. It speaks to the fundamental problem with political institutions. And it was a very powerful and relevant book for its time. But it's... I'm trying to think how to put this. Machiavelli and Machiavelli's The Prince embody utterly and most perfectly the concept that power and intelligence alone are not just valueless and worthless, they are actively detrimental to the people that they rule over, the institutions that they create and build upon. Because if you do not balance power and intelligence with wisdom and morality, it will only hurt, including the people doing it, I think, honestly. Machiavelli was a very sad individual. His life was very sad. It was very hard. Part of that was his character. Part of it was he had a very hard life and complicated family history and things like that. And it was a tough time to be alive. Part of it was the manner in which he approached politics was very similar to a lot of the ideas he proposed to a degree. And it made him a very, I think, unhappy human being. And a lot of leaders who approach politics from that Machiavellian perspective. Machiavellian is a word that gets thrown around, but if you really look at the core ideas of Machiavelli himself, he's not as extreme as that term suggests. He does account for the need to, like, you know, try and foster like real trust and love with the populace, to develop real bonds to a degree. But the core ideas of Machiavelli and like The Prince comes back to the fact that you have to, at your core, be pragmatic in the most brutal sense of it. And that fear is valuable. I mean, fear and love, quote, is what he's most known for, right? But it's more like the concept that, like, to maintain your place in power, you have to be pragmatic and you have to be brutal. And it's not saying that because, like, oh, you just deserve it and that's great. Machiavelli is saying you have to do that because if you don't, you won't govern well. And that's a reasonable conclusion to come to, because sometimes when you're a leader like he was, or a king, which is what he wrote that book for, it was for the kings of Europe at the time, you have to make hard non-moral decisions, specifically non-moral in the context of the Catholic Church and the Catholic morality at the time. And he was arguing, you have to do that. I know it's hard, I know it sucks, but you have to do that or you will hurt yourself, your family, your rule, and your people more. It's an interesting and to a degree true premise. The problem is Machiavelli's The Prince and his core ideas, they function to a degree, but they run into the bigger issue, which is, again, if you do not balance the pragmatism that has enormous value of what Machiavelli says how you should approach like leading and ruling, right, in any form of state role, with the value of wisdom and morality in whatever context you want to put that in, if you don't balance them, you're going to cause in the long term more harm than good, and everything you do will be short term. I think Machiavelli's approach is powerful and fascinating, but I think it can only ever work in the short term. One moment, gotta focus here. All right, loading an old save, let's see what happens. I think in the short term, it's very powerful. It can allow you to do some pretty impressive things. It can allow you to consolidate power to a degree, but you will not create legacy with Machiavelli's system, in my opinion. You can never rule long term. You can never build structures. You can never plant seeds for whose trees and fruit you shall never taste. You can't do that, and you need to do that from a pragmatic perspective as well as a moral one, right? You have to build things long term as any sort of leader and ruler, and if you don't do that, you may not face the cost yourself, but your inheritors and successors and family and people will in the long term. So I now look at Machiavelli in a very interesting manner. I think his works will always have tremendous value, and anyone who goes into public service or office or anything like that should read them, or people in general, but they're just half the story. And you need to realize that. I didn't realize it. When I read Machiavelli when I was young, I took it literally, and I took it like in its absolute sense, and I took it like kind of in a vacuum. And rereading it allowed me to like understand the nuances better, but it was always an incomplete picture. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, right? A lot of people, they find certain ideologies or ideas or concepts they love for good reason, and then they get so biased and allow themselves to become so biased, they don't balance out. And as a result, they will never have a complete picture. And I think that's the fascinating part of Machiavelli and the dangerous part of Machiavelli, right? So, long rant there, but let's see if this works. I feel bad for the people in my online discussions for geography class who didn't expect it to involve so many economics and poli-sci components. That's their problem, not yours. All right, Jesus, I believe. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm gonna say uncle for now, folks. I'll work on it this week. I'll upload the save in the mod list if you want to look at that, and if anyone has ideas, let me know. I'll talk more to that dev and maybe a few others. I'll have to set aside a chunk of time this week and get this figured out. I apologize, folks, but also this is why I warn you at the start of every stream that this will and can happen. There are going to be days like this in the Grand Campaign I can't play. I'll have to bug fix. I will say this, though. Every time I've had to do this in the past, I find a solution, except at the end of Stellaris. So it will be fine. We will almost certainly have a stream next Sunday, but there will be none today. So, yeah. Machiavelli and Aurelius are great if your only goal in life is to make lots of money and corporate leadership. I would not put my boy Marcus Aurelius underneath that, Anrak, but I get where you're coming from. With complete disregard for the wake of human suffering you create. There's also that aspect that people always like use concepts based on them. Nothing is ever truly good or bad, whether that's an idea, a thing, a person, an event, a reality. It's not good and bad. That's a subjective thing you put onto it as a person. Much like tools. And I mean, ideas like Machiavelli's and Aurelius's ideas, they are tools, right? They're not good or bad innately. They are a tool. And how you utilize that tool dictates what you then get to ascribe things like good or bad or evil or good onto it, right? So that's important to remember. Because I can be someone who like watches Andrew Tate like constantly, has never fucked a woman, and thinks domestic violence is love. And I could read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations and I can walk away with a tool that I could potentially use for even more harming other people. I can be a Buddhist monk who will do nothing their whole life but consider the world. I can read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations and I can understand my own principles and my own connection to the universe a little bit better. Or I could be just some regular person, regardless of whatever you think that might be, who reads that book, and it can go either way or no way, or you can ignore it. Ideas, books, all things like that are tools. It is just how you view them, how you choose to view them, how much you let your biases stop you from taking useful things out of them, right? So, yeah. He did write The Prince for the Medici Family, or it's about Caesar Borgia. He wrote it like basically for Caesar Borgia. There's a lot of different like considerations and takes on like what exactly Machiavelli was doing with the prince. There's a fascinating theory actually I've always loved, which is that Machiavelli's The Prince was actually just like almost a bit of a joke. Like Machiavelli wrote it as like not a full joke, but like he knew that it was incomplete, he knew it was wrong, and it was almost like a bit of a satire take on leadership, which is a very interesting theory. I've always enjoyed that one. It's very tough to say like who Machiavelli was really writing it for. In the most objective sense of why he wrote The Prince, it was because at that point he had been ousted from like leadership in Florence at the time. He already had a long history of working like very high up within the state governance of Florence. He had experience and he was down on his luck. He had been pushed out by the current ruling family. He was quite poor, struggling to make ends meet for his family. And I think he had like a farm and stuff. And he was hoping that the book would basically get him acknowledgement from Caesar Borgia, the Medicis, or any other group out there. And basically get him on their payroll or get him back into politics. There was part of him hoping for that, right? It was also like a bit of a nostalgia trip for him, right? In the sense that He had been out of, what was that starting quote of Machiavelli, the Prince? I could sum it up like from his own writing. I think it's like the first thing he writes in the book. Let me see. Bear with me. Yeah, so like a lot of people think it was about Caesar Borgia. He talks about Caesar Borgia a big bit. Caesar Borgia at that time period in Italy was just like a monolithic figure in terms of like what a single man did to influence like Italy and the very complicated politics at the time. I think it was originally the book was dedicated to like one of the Medicis, and the Medicis were like, he had an off and on relationship with them, actually. He was not all good or bad with them in many ways. Let me see if it's in here. If not, I'll just find that quote online. Here it is. Yeah, so this is a quote from Machiavelli. I think it's from the Prince. I just can't find it where it is, but I'll give you the full quote here. When evening comes, I return home and go into my study. On the threshold, I strip off my muddy, sweaty workday clothes, because he had a farm at this point when he was writing it, and he was not very wealthy. And put on the robes of court and palace. And in this graver dress, I enter the antique courts of the ancients and am welcomed by them. And there I taste the food that alone is mine and for which I was born. And there I make bold to speak to them and ask the motives of their actions, and they, in their humanity, reply to me. And for the space of 4 hours, I forget the world, remember no vexation, fear poverty no more, tremble no more at death, I pass indeed into their world. So writing the Prince for him was also a form of escapism and nostalgia for like when he mattered. He didn't anymore when he was writing this. And it was also a bit of a hope that he would like use this to either get the money to get out of his situation, which was pretty bad, or get back into politics, which was not probably gonna happen. So the reasons he wrote it, the manner in which he wrote it, there's a lot of different interpretations of it. But at the end of the day, it's just important to remember when you read books like that, they're powerful. They contain wisdom, they contain useful understandings you can use in your life. But like any ideas, they're dangerous. It's, you know, it's good or bad based on who you are, how much you choose to use them for certain different methods and manners, right? And, you know, you could read the book, hot take, you can read Mein Kampf and come away with something that can probably improve your life. That's a very dramatic way to put this, right? It's an awful book by an awful human being, and it's disgusting. But there's probably something in there that would be interesting enough you could utilize it for good, right? As well as certainly for evil. Or you could read something like the teachings of Jesus Christ or the Buddha, right? And there are tools and insights in there that would be very powerful and useful and deep for you. And you could use them for good, or to better yourself, or to have more peace with yourself in the world. Or you could find ways to use them for evil. And Machiavelli is one of the best examples of that. His concepts are powerful, they are pragmatic, they are useful, but they are just one small piece of the puzzle. And you need to never approach things like that as an absolute like system in and of itself. It's a modular one that fits into all the other pieces you need to find and put together to live your life or use them for whatever you want, right? So with that, I will end stream for today because I've been working on this shit for hours now and I want to make some food, and since it's light, I'll probably go on a bike ride. I don't know if that's a good idea after last night, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. not what y'all were expecting, nor wanting, nor I, but I'll get this figured out this week. If you have time, I'll post the save and the mods in the Discord if you can take a look and give me some ideas, or if you find a solution, that would be incredible. And I'll give you the VIP rule on Twitch if you watch on Twitch, if you figure this out for me. So here's a incentive, I guess. But yeah, stream next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I will almost certainly have it as soon as I get the bug figured out. I'll announce it on the Discord too, and I'll put up like a proper stream schedule.